Welcome to the Authentic Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Ruthie Gray, and today I'm joined by my lovely assistant, Sarah Moats, as we celebrate our 4-year podcast anniversary. Welcome, Sarah.
Yay. So glad to be here.
We are excited for this 4-year anniversary. We're going to do a rundown of the top 5 episodes of this past year. We released Authentic Online Marketing Podcast back in the year 2020. Y'all may remember what was going on that year, but this was June of 2020 and everyone was home behind their computer screens and going live and going on Zoom and things like that. So I knew that the Lord had been laying on my heart for a long time to do a podcast, and he was nudging me to do it in 2020. And I said, Lord, I don't have time. And then the country shut down. And so that's the background of this podcast. And you may not know this, but at the beginning, our name was Instagram Insider Hacks for the first year. And then we evolved into Authentic Online Marketing because we wanted to broaden it a little bit. And as you will see from today's results, that is in fact what we have done from the top 5 episodes that you all have determined from your downloads. So now, listen in.
Welcome to Authentic Online Marketing with Ruthie Gray. Growing awareness for your blog, podcast, book, or product involves more than dancing to reels and yelling, "Buy my thing." This show models quality over clamor so you can put your spin on your message and market in a way that feels authentic to you, because nobody wants to sound like an infomercial. And now, here's your host, Ruthie Gray.
Welcome back to our anniversary celebration, year 4. You may not know this, but we have 168 episodes. Did you know that, Sarah?
I didn't realize we had 168. That's a lot.
Yeah. So this is episode number 110, but we have 2 seasons. The first season was a lot shorter, and that was the season where our name started out as Instagram Insider Hacks. So if you haven't listened to all 168 episodes, go all the way back to the beginning, because a lot of what we started out with is still really, really good advice. The only difference you'll hear is the sound is quite different. I think the sound quality has improved a little bit.
Yes, I believe it has.
It definitely has. So we have, at the time of this taping, June 2024, over 84,000 listens. That's pretty good, right?
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, a lot of listens. And every week, new people pop in my inbox over at Instagram and say, "Hey, I love your show. I just found you." And that just does my heart so much good. It's great to know that we are helping Christian entrepreneurs and creatives in their endeavors to sell their books and promote their podcasts and websites and all of the great things that you all are doing out there. I do want to let you know that this is our end of season podcast for this year, and we will be taking off the months of June and July, and we will be back in August. So if you are lacking for podcast fodder, don't forget that we have our private podcast, which will still be releasing over the summer. So you will not be completely dry. Plus, that is the way into my newsletter, and you will be receiving that as well. And you'll want to stay tuned for some important updates that we are going to be giving there. So make sure you're subscribed to the private podcast and the newsletter. If you're subscribed to the podcast, you're subscribed to the newsletter. So there you go. All right. We are going to do the rundown from number 5 all the way up to number 1. So without further ado, let's start with the 5th downloaded episode.
Number 5, the 7 online marketing tools for entrepreneurs. So this is going to be, the top tools that we use basically every day in our business that I don't think we could live without.
This is episode 85. Now, we will link all of these in the show notes. We're not going to tell you all 7. Go listen to that if you haven't, because it obviously is a popular one.
Yeah, if we were to start listing out all 7, we would be here all day because we could talk all day about these top 7 tools. So the 2 that I've picked as my personal favorites, I use these every day. I could not do business without them. And I gladly pay. There's free versions of these things, but I gladly pay extra to get the best version of these. They're so worth it. Number 1 for me has got to be Google Drive. If you're not paying for Google Workspace, go get it because you can drop anything you want into your Google Drive. You can organize it. If you love file organization, you're going to love Google Drive and you're going to have all the space you need to do it. Let's see, what do I use it for just for you, Ruthie? I write up your podcast transcripts. Like I take the transcripts and put it into easily scannable text that's SEO rich. I do that in Google Drive, store it there so you can look at it. I store photos in there, both photos for my clients and photos in my personal life as well. I have a shared drive just for me and my family. I have a Google Doc of just client testimonials so that if I ever need a testimonial to prove my abilities, I have that. And you can share it with other people. Guys, Google Workspace and Google Drive within Google Workspace, go get it. 110% worth your money.
Agreed.
The second one that I love is LastPass. LastPass stores all of your passwords. And I don't think I could be Ruthie's VA without having LastPass.
Not possible.
Not possible. So it's a password management software and it securely stores and organizes your passwords so that you don't have to. So you can make your passwords super secure and super complicated without having to manually type in each little letter and each little crazy symbol every single time you're trying to log in to whatever website you need. No more hunting down your passwords and usernames. It's all in one spot. If you use Google Chrome, it has a widget that goes directly onto your browser. It just fills it in for you and you can just move on with your day. Saves me hours every month.
If you have somebody that is doing VA work for you, I think this is a no-brainer because it's like, what, $5 a year, maybe $7?
It's so cheap.
Cheap. Why would you not? Especially like at my age, I can't remember any passwords. And then they don't want you to have the same passwords every time. So it's a brain saver.
It is.
And I selected 2 that are my favorites from the 7 tools. And you can hear about that over on the private podcast, which will be released next week, along with a few other insider tips that we did not mention in here. Number 4 is episode 91, 3 reasons to self-publish. I did a conversation with Kent Sanders about writing a book and self-publishing. And this was like the organic conversation that wasn't really meant for the public. He and I were just brainstorming because we were working on something else. And I said, when you told me last year that maybe I should write a book, I started thinking about it. And then the Lord prompted me to write a book. But do you think I should self-publish or traditional? And so this was our conversation about that. And from that conversation, you can derive 3 reasons why it could be worth it for you to self-publish. So that is episode 91.
The number 3 podcast is episode 84, 5 Secrets to Successful Affiliate Marketing. Affiliate marketing is all over Instagram. It's going to be whenever an influencer loves a product or says that they love a product, and then they receive a commission off of the sales of that product that you, the follower, purchase. We're just going to cover a few of them, but number 1 is you have to believe in the brand. If you've been on Instagram for a while, especially in like the mom realm of Instagram, if you want a good example of this, follow some mom accounts and you will very quickly see that not all these ladies believe in the products that they are trying to sell you. Because you can just tell, like, they don't actually use it. They're just getting paid to do it. But if you choose to be an affiliate for a product, Make sure it's something that you actually believe in, and then maybe talk about how you use it personally, whether it's for your business or in your personal life. Sell authentically.
That's what I was going to say. That's what we call authentic marketing. Because if you don't believe in it, then no one else is going to believe in it. And you're just wasting your breath. If you are trying to affiliate for a product that you've never used, that you've never seen the value in, but you are trying to make money, so you're an affiliate and you're trying to push this, it's probably going to go nowhere, which goes with another point. And that other point that I want to mention will be found in the private podcast, where Sarah expounds on 3 more ways to continuously share your affiliate links. You'll also hear my next plan for my website to promote affiliate links. Okay. And then number 2 is episode 93, how to reverse engineer your launch. This came from my experiences and strategies that have served me well over the years. And then my recent launch of my book back in October of 2023. And it was a pretty easy launch because I had kind of a long runway. So there are 10 steps to reverse engineer your launch. Here we're sharing the first 3. Number 1 is be consistent with your posting. You may not know what you're going to launch someday. You may not know if your book will come out, but there is the dream. There is the dream of something. So if you are on the platform at all, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is, and you know that you have a message, the best way to start the process of the runway is to be consistent, not just posting once a week or once every 3 months, but actually showing up at about the same time every week and delivering good content. Be consistent with your posting.
Yes. And then following that posting, number 2 would be to then engage on social media. I know you're going to be busy trying to get everything launched and wrapping up everything with your book, but this is not the time to take a social media break. This is the time to post and engage. So make sure that you're following up on comments, interacting with those comments. Make sure you're checking your DMs, sharing this stuff on the stories, responding to other people who share stuff on their stories about your book. Just make sure you're really engaged during that time.
I know that I've talked to a lot of people who are writing their book and they're like, well, I'm just going to put social media on the back burner while I write this book. Now, there are times like last year at this time, I really had to hunker down and take April off. And so I did that. But that was the only month I took off. During that whole time last year that I was writing this book, I was consistently on social. And you can go back and listen to some of the podcast episodes for how I remained consistent on social while I did that. One of our podcast episodes, actually the first one we talked about, highlights a tool that I used for remaining consistent in our 7 tools for online entrepreneurs. So you'll want to listen to that episode as well. But don't let it go just because you got to write the book or you want to do other things, because it's important to build that authenticity. Number 3 is start an email list. So second only to being on social, which it's really actually the same. Once you're on social, you should start an email list as well, because the email list is an even better way to get to your audience, because they are going to have more likelihood to open your email than they are to see every post that you have on social. So start that email list yesterday.
Yeah, that does not need to wait for your book to launch. Start it before you start writing your book.
Yeah, for sure.
Get started.
Okay, so you just heard our top 4 most downloaded episodes of the past year from June to June. And now for number 1, the top most downloaded episode with over 1,000 downloads is Episode 81, Achieving Your Best Yes, Learning to Say No and Prioritize. And honestly, it is no surprise to me that this is the number one most downloaded episode because it seems that all of us, we creatives, entrepreneurs, always have this trouble of what to say yes to and how to focus. So for this part of this episode, I have a special guest joining us, my son and audio engineer for the podcast, Nolan Gray of Indigo Sound. Welcome, Nolan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Nolan has been with me all of these years of podcasting, from the very beginnings of brainstorming and tweaking sound and just trying to get our rhythms. So we've worked together over the years, and I am so thankful to have him joining me. Some of the things we talked about in episode 81 are, of course, evaluating your time and that it's your most valuable asset, and ways to determine how to say yes, what to say yes to, and what to say no to. How about you start us off, Nolan?
First tip was break it down. We talked about taking the time to break down your goals into smaller, more attainable ones. Even if the year is halfway over, it's still possible to achieve your goals and make significant progress in the second half of the year. So really just kind of honing in was sort of that first emphasis in the episode.
Yeah. And so we actually released this episode last June. And so that's why I was talking about, even though the first 6 months of the year are gone, and here we are again in 2024, the first 6 months of the year are gone, but we can still make progress if we just take a little bit of time to assess and regroup. Then the next thing that we mentioned was to optimize your content, your blog posts for SEO, and make sure it's findable on Google. And we all know that everybody's in a big flap this year because of Google and AI and all that stuff. But I want to give you this tip. If you are a blogger, that the best thing you can do is go back to stop running your blog posts through AI and just go back to regular verbalizing and writing in your own voice. That's what Google is looking for. So they're looking for human voices. So I just want to put that in there. And then also something that we said about optimizing your content is to repurpose into videos so that you can reach a wider audience everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, wherever you are, video is not going away anytime soon. So be consistent and create a yearly and monthly goal plan. I talked about a method that I use. You'll just have to listen to this episode to know exactly what I use, but it's great for yearly and monthly and quarterly assessments.
Yeah. And then we talked about building your email list, because building an email list can make a massive difference in promoting your content. And so by providing quick, consumable content that solves a problem right away, you can create engaging relationships with your audience. And we really just emphasized building out that email list and how easy it is to forget about email, but how effective it really can be in reaching your target audience.
Yeah, because again, if you are relying totally on social media to market, social media is saturated and there is way less chance of people seeing your posts and more of a chance of people seeing your email. Everybody checks their email. And you can reach that person personally with your email. So make sure that you are prioritizing your email. The next thing is remember to build relationships. Marketing isn't just about shouting, buy my thing. In fact, it's not about shouting, buy my thing. It's about building relationships, collaborations, customer service, making sure also, like, especially specifically on Instagram, that you are always leaving calls to action, no matter what your post is, so that you're dropping those breadcrumbs. And so that when you make the big ask of click on my link in bio, people are going to do that.
So really the overarching theme of this episode was learning how to say no, which can lead to better prioritization, better focus ultimately, And it's hard to say no sometimes when you think, especially in terms of having sort of what I call a desperation mindset of like, oh, but if I say no, this could be the big thing that gives me the big break. And if you're constantly doing that, you will wear yourself out and potentially overstretch when you don't need to be. It's one of the things you said in the episode was that you're not going to do any speaking engagements for X amount of time because you knew what you needed to focus on to produce the fruit that you needed to produce in that season.
Which was the book. I needed to get the book written. We struggle with FOMO and we think we're going one way. And then we think, oh, I should do that. Somebody else is doing that. I should do that. And we never give the first thing a try. So we've got to learn to say no. Commit your ways to God. Trust the process. He gives you the desires of your heart. And so just lean into that. Trust that He is working all things to His glory and to your good. So there you have it. Our top 5 most downloaded episodes of the last year. And we will have them all linked in the show notes so you can go and check them out. Be sure to also check out the private podcast where we added a few more little insights and conversations there. Plus, Sarah gave one more tip about website hosting. So you want to hear that too. We are going to be taking off for the summer. So if you are subscribed to the podcast, you will still hear from us. We will be still dropping episodes over there and we'll be keeping you in the loop. Also, just updates that we see or hear, thoughts that I might have for Christian creatives, for writers, authors. And that also is included in my newsletter, which you will get as well if you are subscribed to the private podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've been here all 4 years, that is amazing. Thank you for hanging with us. If you just joined, we are so glad you're here too. Here's to another year of hopefully producing great content for you to be able to learn marketing simply and effectively in not quite so many steps. So easy, your mom or Carol Brady could do it. We'll see you all again next time when we return after the summer. Until then, be sure to share your message, your way, in your own authentic
voice.
Yeah.